Hello, everyone, and welcome to this first episode of the Miramichi Historical Linkages podcast. We'll be coming to you every week with stories about the history of the river, how heritage and culture connects Miramichi across the region, outside of the region, and maybe even around the world. Today, again, since it's the first episode, we decided that it might be a good idea to maybe just take an opportunity to get to know the people that are going to be talking to you in the weeks ahead. I think that's what we'll do today for this first episode, and we'll be back again next week with a little bit more of an explanation about the project itself. I'll get everybody to introduce themselves. I'm Sean McCarthy from right here in Miramichi, and I'm the manager of the project, for lack of a better term. I'll turn it over to Allison, who is the next person closest to me on my right-hand side. It may not be true for you as you're watching this, but take it away, Allison.
Hello, my name is Allison Paradis, and I am also from Miramichi, and I'm covering the Acadian side of the research in this project.
Hi there, my name is Tasha Smith. I am the Indigenous Culture and Heritage Researcher for this project. I am originally from Maine, but I moved to Fredericton when I was quite young. My community is Metamonagia First Nation, so Miramichi is just like my home as well. I'm excited to have you guys join us throughout this journey.
I'm originally from the Navajo Nation, from the Southwest, from northern New Mexico. I've lived here for a couple of years, but I am the project consultant for this project, and I am really enjoying what I'm learning so far.
Put it all together. Thanks, everybody. When we met yesterday, because preparation is important, we decided that we wanted to kind of have a very conversational first episode, just talking about ourselves, letting you who get to know us, but maybe not necessarily in the sense of, I had a particularly interesting life. I was born, and so on and so forth. That sort of thing. We're not really kind of going with the biographical today. Maybe, like I say, yeah. So maybe we've kind of touched on it a little bit in the introductions, but I know that we've all kind of been from there to here and here to there. So maybe to kind of start off with, maybe how we came to be, all of us here in Miramichi at this point in our working lives and so on and so forth. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Wonderful.
All righty. So, I guess I can start and allow everybody else an opportunity to prepare, and I'll try to be as, I won't rattle on like a clapper on a goose's backside. I was born here, and I went to school here, but starting in about 2004, I spent about the next 10 years, most of the, kind of split between here in Miramichi and first in Halifax when I did my undergrad at St. Mary's, then in Fredericton where I did my master's at UNB, and then in London, Ontario, where I did my PhD at Western University. And then I was there for 4 years, and then I spent another year in Fredericton, still working on the PhD. It was a long process. I'm sure we'll touch on that in future episodes. But yeah. So, and like I say, I was very fortunate in 2015 to be able to accept a position with Friends of Beaubears Island as their executive director. I had worked there in summers past, but I was able to get a position there, and I was the executive director right up until last September. So I've been away from Beaubears Island now for about a year. The withdrawal is slowly subsiding, but it's ever present. But I was really happy to be able to step onto this project and maybe kind of flex some of those historical research muscles in a different way.
We need a 3-episode stint of Sean telling us about university.
Yes.
Just a little mini series of Sean telling us every course he's taken in university.
Yeah, that's it. Can we record that one at 11 in the evening?
Right.
Because I can't drink at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my goodness. Did you always want to come back to Miramichi? Like after you were doing your studies, did you just know that you wanted to come back here? Or had you had like another thought and then it was just the offer of coming back to Beau Bears is what brought you back?
I mean, I always said that, you know, if I could work at Beau Bears Island for the rest of my life, that's what I would do. You know, that's it when I was young and foolish. But and then there's probably still a part of me that still would. But technically, I guess we're all still working for Beau Bears Island now. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's it. But I guess you know, I always really was drawn to the history here, even though I was studying history in other places. And I guess I always assumed that I was going to be, you know, working in the university in academia, and that I would be probably. Right. I mean, I wanted to stay on the East Coast if I could. But like I say, then opportunities kind of arose. My time with academia, my time being in academia for so long as a student, maybe kind of changed my outlook on that as a future for me, to put it mildly. So I was really happy to be able to come back and kind of do the thing that I really enjoyed doing when I wasn't in school, being in Beau Bears, to be able to do that all the time. That's it.
Nice. Yeah, I always wondered that. I don't know. It's funny to me because I met you probably around 2015, 2016 when I was working at Beau Bears, and I just always knew, oh yeah, Sean from Miramichi. That was just so I was always curious about that. If there was ever a point in your life when you thought, oh, I want to go be a historian elsewhere.
Yeah, I guess, like I say, I did for a while, but then I smartened up and decided to become a historian here.
And here we are.
This is it. That's it. Yes. Well, if somebody wants to take my place on the hot seat, please. That would be fine with me.
I could jump in and give a little bit of my history because it certainly is about as far to the other side as Sean's is, because other than my stint at Beau Bears when I was in high school, which kind of, I think, started that whole like love of history for me, as much as I enjoyed, you know, at that point I had only had any exposure to like history class in high school. And I thought that was pretty neat, but I never thought of it as something that I'd want to do moving forward. And so I went about as far from that as you could go. And I went to theater school. And I thought I was going to be actually, maybe it's not so different, because I thought I was going to be a university professor for the theater arts. And I got an offer for a job out in Whistler in British Columbia to be a theater teacher. And very quickly, I realized this is not what I was made to do. I taught 8th grade, so it was, kind of thrown into the deep end for the first year of teaching. And kudos to all my friends who are teachers, because it is hard. And then just life kind of brought me back to New Brunswick about 6 years ago, where all the fairy tale stuff, met my husband, settled down, bought a house. And after I had our first son, there was a question of, well, I want to go back to work. And I'm curious about what I could do that would be more of a passion project and that I can also do while being able to enjoy being a mom and learning. And still, because I think I did always love my time at university. So I love that idea of continued education in one way or another. And then Sean approached me about this project. And I remember after we talked, calling my mom and telling her, like, it's too good to be true, right? Like, Sean's going to call me back and say, you know, by the way, you have to work 75 hours and we're going to pay you in peanuts and you're not going to care and it's going to be a rough time. And I had my first meeting with everybody and realized it was going to be an awesome project to work on, mostly with the joy of it being focused on the Acadians for me, which growing up was something that was always, I was always curious about. I always wanted to know more than just what was in our textbooks, I guess. And so this is kind of allowing me to do that research into it. So it was a long and winding road, but here I am.
That's it. Well, there's an old proverb that says it's a long road indeed that has no turning. So,
Yeah. Well, I guess so I'll go next because I'm kind of in between both of you. I've always enjoyed learning about pretty much anything. I don't think there was a topic I didn't like learning about, but I became a mom at a very young age in high school. So my focus went from just trying to graduate and do the best I can to take care of my child. When I got to St. Thomas University to do my BA degree, I really knew I wanted to learn more about history when I took an intro to Native Studies with Mark Landry. And he had one day a guest speaker, Roland Christian, who is also a professor at St. Thomas University. And something just clicked. I was so amazed about all the information I had no clue even existed that when I went into there, my goal was to major in criminology and minor in, I believe, sociology at the time, but I totally flipped my choices around and I ended up majoring in criminology, but honoring with distinctions in Native studies. I definitely don't regret making that choice. Throughout my BA degree, I also worked on a textbook project with a group of great, wonderful people. We did research for Indigenous information across Canada in order to update the curriculum for social studies, history, and Native studies in New Brunswick. After I obtained my BA degree, I enjoyed learning so much that I knew I felt in my heart the best thing to do with all the education I've been acquiring over the years is to pass it on to the future generations. So then I decided to jump in and get my education degree at STU, which turned out to be the time COVID had starting to bring itself forward more in our country. So I ended up finishing off that degree, teaching online, which was quite the experience. After that, I homeschooled 2 out of 3 children that following year. What a wonderful experience that was. So much growing. And I get asked this question a lot. So no, I won't be ever homeschooling again. But it was a good experience.
I like that mindset. It was beautiful, short term.
Short term, beautiful, yes. I don't know how it would have turned out if I went longer. I would have ended up becoming the student again or something. But then I started looking for work after that because once the pandemic had somewhat been curbed, public schools had reopened, and the kids had wanted to go back. So I supported that. So I was looking around for work, and then my aunt and my mother both sent me the application for the Indigenous and Culture researcher position, and I was so excited to see that whether I got that position or not. I was just so excited to hear about this project coming to light. But then I had, like Allison had said, once I met with everybody, it just seemed too good to be true. I was like, what the heck is this falling in my lap out of nowhere? But I am ever so thankful for it. And as Sarah had mentioned earlier, what a wonderful learning journey we've all been on throughout all the meetings we've had with the different people and interviews. I've learned so much more about not only the Indigenous culture, but the other beautiful cultures, Celtic and Acadian, that are in Miramichi. And we are also, even though we're focusing on those 3 cultures, I like that we still keep an open mind to all the other diversity, the many other cultures that have come over the years since pre-contact and whatnot. But excited to keep on this learning journey.
Like I said, my name is Sarah Ward. I lived on the Miramichi. I guess I'm coming from born and raised in New Mexico in the Navajo Nation. And then I landed in Oklahoma, in Tahlequah, the Cherokee Nation community. And I went to Northeastern State there for a while. Went to Talkalee's Job Corps first from there, finished there, and I went to Northeastern State University. And it was in Talkalee's I met my husband, so he decided, let's go to meet my family for Christmas in New Brunswick. It's been 40 years later, and I'm still having Christmas in New Brunswick. But anyway, when I came here in New Brunswick, I've learned, it was the first time I was introduced to the Mi'kmaq culture. So I was interested, and it was kind of different coming from New Mexico, Oklahoma, where the Aboriginal community, indigenous culture was strong. Like, the ceremonies and the powwows and everything I grew up in was so natural. When I came to New Brunswick, not much was going on with First Nations. And I remember people, like I was telling the group the other day, says, I remember making beadwork or doing some kind of indigenous craft there, where people come to my mother-in-law's and says, oh, look at her, she's doing Indian crafts. And I'm like, okay, I know this is a reserve, but why you guys say that? But I never realized that the culture of indigenous people were not really represented in the educational system, or even in the community, or even within the Miramichi in general. So that's why I took my interest in trying to promote Aboriginal culture. Like, I am the chair of the board at the Newcastle Library. So I try to bring in programs that would promote Aboriginal culture. I work in different places. Like, I work with Child and Family when I first came here. I too also started taking courses at St. Thomas University, thinking I wanted to be a social worker. Then working in the department, I realized that that's not for me, because if I work as a social worker, I'm put in a box and I can't do too much to promote what I want to do. So I changed my major to sociology. So I majored in sociology and history. And I met a professor which was very, very inspiring, which was Steve Dutcher. He introduced me to history, and the way he taught history was so exciting that, I was telling the group yesterday that I went to study history with some biases, because I'm thinking we're the victim as Aboriginal people. We need to be heard. But in the process, I've learned that there's so many people that contributed to Canada, the United States, to the Miramichi in general. So there's a lot of different people that make our community what it is today. And then after my BA, I decided to teach adult education. So I got my BEd in adult education. And then I went further and got my BA in adult education. My master's in adult education. So, and I taught here in different communities, in First Nations communities. And I always try to promote Aboriginal culture, Aboriginal history, something that would inspire people to feel good about themselves or realize where they come from. That was always been my goal. And then I seen the job ad come up a couple of times with Bowberry's Island. And I looked at it, I said, this is interesting. Should I do it? Because I had done some other research with the First Nations topics before. So I kind of like, okay, do I have time? Would I do this? Because I know how much work it involves doing the research, and how much sorting things out and coming up with information, traveling. Like, I know all that. So I'm like, is this what I really want to do? And then like COVID happened. I said, maybe this is the time. I said, because everything is done online, I'll give it a try. So I did apply for the job. And I think a couple of times, I think the ad came up, but nobody was applying. So I said, I'll give it a try. So, and then I've learned that Tesha got the job. And I said, good, it's an Aboriginal person, because as a novel person, as a Diné woman, I like to see people from the community, especially living in the Mi'kmaq community. I like to see the Mi'kmaq people get the jobs, and somebody's qualified. I'm like, good, more power to them. Then Sean calls me up and says, since you did some research before, can you help us be a consultant with this program? We'll create a position for you. And I'm like, wow. I said, that's good, I'm recognized for the things I do. I'm glad. And I really was honored, and I really appreciate it. And as we went along, I realized that I guess I always had a connection to Bowberry's Island, because when the dedication was made at Bowberry's Island, when the building was built and everything, was my husband that did the ceremony to dedicate um, the place, right? And then my son worked at Bowberry's Island as one of the actors and the tour guides for there. So he knew Sean. So I'm like, somehow I've always been connected with Bowberry's Island. And then here I am again, like, so it made us all three of us be here. So that's my spiel on Miramichi, connections, and it is a beautiful culture, because my husband says I talk a lot, so I end up going places and I learn, talk to people, right? And there's people from different culture, and and I'm always learning. So I feel like although I come from New Mexico, I have built different homes, different community, different families here. So they might not be blood family, but they're family. So I get a connection with them, try different things, new things. And then at the same time, I also take the time to take pictures and share the difference of things in the Miramichi community and share it with my people back home. So I give a little bit of Miramichi out west. And sometimes they'll ask me, what's fiddlehead? So I have to explain what a fiddlehead is, or what's, certain things, So sometimes I even demonstrate how to cook a lobster, or, things like that. Or they'll say, what's Luskinian? And I have to tell them it's a traditional bit of the Mi'kmaq, So I think I'm kind of doing my share in sharing the culture in the Miramichi community.
And I think we're all, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'm pretty sure this is a well-accepted thing in our group, that we're very grateful that you're on our team, because you've definitely helped us, guided us in a lot of different ways that we wouldn't have got there and gotten to those research topics, or connections to incredible people that are able to come in and help us on the project. We would have never been able to do any of that stuff without you. So I'm very glad that you decided to reach out to see if you could join us, because it has made the world of a difference.
I absolutely agree. Very thankful and appreciative.
110%. That's it. Like I say, it's like I say, it's been a great journey, even thus far. We're not even a year in. Well, I'm just a year in, but that's it. But, like I say, and to have somebody, with your experience kind of helping us along, and like I say, and providing kind of that step back, because we're kind of in the middle of the research, and being able, like I say, to have somebody that we can present all that stuff to, and then kind of get a different perspective, has been very helpful. So we all like one another, so.
I didn't say that, Sean. Sean, I only said that I like Sarah.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
So,
I guess me and you and Sean, you and I get the boot then. No.
I guess so.
So the next podcast episode will be Sarah Ward and myself, Allison Parody.
That's the good thing about this group. We got a lot of humor in the group, so we had a good chance of laughing, and
Yes, indeed.
That we do.
2 weeks when Tasha and I will be hosting our own break-off podcast.
It'll be called The History of the Historical Linkages Project Team.
That's it. Yeah. The stories they don't want you to know.
Behind the scenes.
The untold stories. Oh boy. I'd be in trouble. Let's not do that podcast. I take it back. You guys are back in. I like you again. I can't take that kind of risk.
You know too much now.
That's it. Yeah. Bound by mutually assured destruction, if nothing else.
There you go. We'll all go down together. It's fine. I am wondering, with a few minutes remaining, if we would like to kind of do like a call to action to kind of let people know how they can reach us, where they can reach us, if they have any questions that they want us to answer at any point as we go on with the podcast. I don't know, Sean, if you want Can I throw out the email address and see if there's
Sure.
anybody who wants to chat with us?
Yeah, so we're always looking for feedback. We're always looking, for more people who are interested in Miramichi's history and would like to talk to us and share their stories and their knowledge, in hopes of being able to create, as I say, those bonds across communities here in the region, and then maybe from our communities to other communities, these across the province, across Canada, the continent, and the world. So if you're interested in that, be sure to, again, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment below, and we'll be able to get back to you that way. But if you're an email type person and you want to just shoot us a line at linkproject, all one word, at beaubearsisland.ca, that would be great too, and we'll get back to you in pretty short order.
And if you have any complaints, Sean's home address is
24 Elizabeth Street, Miramichi. That's it. Not all letters will be answered.
No.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, really, if anybody has any questions or any comments or feedback or anything like that, I do look forward to hearing from everybody, because as much as we are, I guess, the research team, none of this gets done without the people who are willing and open to chat with all of us and to share their stories, or, their family stories, or some research that they've done throughout the years. So the project really relies on all of you, dear listeners. And on that, I don't know if anybody has any closing words. We're good?
I believe so.
I think we are good.
Sean, do you want to hit us with an outro?
Oh, sure.
I request a song, a little closing song.
Yeah, okay. Let me think. Well, I see the clock on the wall that it's time to bid you one and all goodbye, Wayne and Schuster, right? You know what I mean? We could do that. But anyway, from all of us to all of you, if you have the guts, the patience, and the fortitude to come back next week, we'll be here. Thanks so much. Take care. All the best.
Goodbye.